All right, good evening, coaches. This is Coach Teague, and I'm coming to you this evening with another episode of Rebuilding 101, where tonight we look at the term recruiting the hallways. Recruiting the hallways has always been a term given when you take over a program that has been down due to numbers or from the aspect that just trying to get more athletes out for football. Before I begin, I ask everyone to hit that subscribe button if this is your first time coming to my channel, or if you've been here and seen some of my other content on some offensive strategies that I've had and the offensive scheme that I used. Please hit the subscribe button, hit the like for me, and I have more content coming out on this topic in rebuilding programs. So real briefly, I just want to discuss what that term recruiting the hallways means. As I said to open this video, recruiting the hallways more talks about trying to get the kids that are in the building that are deemed or viewed as potential kids that can help you with football, or those kids that are athletes that are just not coming out. In my professional opinion, let me back up. I've been asked numerous times in my stops as head coaches and in head coaching when I've taken over programs that had low numbers and the numbers increased. I've been blessed with the fact that I've been able to get kids out for football relatively quickly within that first year and maintain that level of consistency during the time I was at each program. Coaches have asked me, what am I doing? Am I talking to the kids? How am I doing it? Or what has been the strategy I would suggest for any coaches that are trying to get kids out? The first thing I would tell coaches, you have to accept the fact that times have changed. There was a time when high school football head coach walked in the building for the first time and everyone viewed him with in a rarefied air as that guy. Well, times have changed now. Kids have more opportunities to play other sports. They have other things they're involved in. And football isn't a lot of times in these particular schools or in a lot of schools, it's not the what's the word I'm looking for? It's not the be all of everything as it was in the 90s and early 2000s and when I was in high school in the 80s. Times have changed. And there's an old saying that either you change and adapt or die. And, not literally, obviously, but you have to change. So there was no particular strategy that I walked in the door and said, okay, this is what I'm going to do. This is how I'm going to get kids out. It just happened. My first head coaching job, took over a school who had been down, and I walked in the door and I heard whispers. Who is this guy? Some knew me from my defensive coordinator stint at the school prior, where we had played the school, but for the vast majority of kids, no one knew me. So amidst all that speculation, have your kids come interview you. That's not to say you don't go and you don't talk to them and approach them. But when you approach kids, have them interview you. Let them ask you questions. Because in this current landscape of football, when kids can go out and do other sports and do other things, there's nothing driving them to come out a lot of times. And they're looking for a reason, even if they do want to play. So what I've done, I've asked them, interview me. I'm an open book. I'm very transparent. And then you make your assessment from there. The golden ticket to recruiting the hallways is allowing the kids to go out and take what you've told them to other kids. I tell my kids now at the school I'm at now, you're our biggest recruiters, because kids will lean on the advice of other kids before they'll lean on yours a lot of times. And here where I am now, that has been the biggest contributing factor. It was that way at my school prior and the school before that. So I think it's safe to say it's a tried and true method. And what you're going to find, it will weed out a lot of times the kids that are, you go to them, you ask them, hey, are you going to come out for football? And they basically say, yeah, I'll be out there. And a lot of times you run into situations where, kids is just telling you that so you will leave them alone a lot of times. As bad as that sounds, it's the truth because their heart is somewhere else. And in fairness to these kids, a lot of times they don't have the heart to tell you no. Because they're teenagers. They don't have the wherewithal a lot of times now at their age to just be upfront with you. They don't want to disappoint you. So I don't like putting kids in that position. So what I will do, I take the current players and I ask them to go out and recruit. They have a better handle on that than I ever would. Okay. Not a lot on that. I just want to be able to say that times have changed, and if you're a head coach and you're stepping out there and you're pressured with trying to get numbers up, let the kids come to you. Approach them, introduce yourself, and don't spend a lot of time talking about what you run, how you run your system, all your philosophy. If you let them ask you the questions, you'll answer all that for them. And then you go from there. That has been probably the biggest asset I've had in just word of mouth. And when you call that first meeting, you'll see how well it works because kids will show up. They will show up. And those who get the information from the kids you've talked to who decide, nah, that's not what I want to do. His schedule may conflict with me going to work or any other thing that may be going on with school. I'll end by saying you have to be also as flexible as you possibly can because nowadays a lot of kids in these schools, they have jobs, they have other commitments, they have grade obligations, they have family obligations. And more times than not, what kids want to find out is how willing are you to work around commitments they've made prior to you coming there. And you will find more times than not, if you're very flexible, without compromising the integrity of your program, but flexible with making sure things work to where they benefit that kid playing for you and you having that kid on your football team, you will find out more times than not, you will draw more kids in.